The next definition that we're going to tackle is a sample space. And a sample space is a set of all possible outcomes or results of that trial or experiment. For example, we're going to describe the sample space for 3 experiments below. So experiment number 1, tossing 1 coin. So what are the possible outcomes? We already said that we can get either heads or tails. So that those are our possible outcomes. If we usually, when we describe sample space, we use a set notation. So that would look like this. Open square bracket, and then put head, comma, tail. Or we could simply list it as a table, like in this case. Okay, experiment number 2, tossing 2 coins, or we could describe it as tossing a coin twice in a row. So what are the possible outcomes? Well, we could have a tails on the first try, and then on the first toss, or the toss of the first coin, and the tails for the second toss. Or we could have tails on the first toss and heads on the second. We could have heads on the first and tails on the second, or we could have heads on the first and heads on the second. Now, let's describe the sample space for tossing 3 coins or tossing a single coin 3 times. We could have tails on the first, tails on the second, and tails on the third. We could have tails on the first. My cat says hi. On the second toss, we get tails again, and in the third, we could get heads. And then another possibility is tails on the first, heads on the second, tails on the third, and then heads on the first, tail on the second, tail on the third. But these are not all of the possibilities, right? So we only describe the possibilities where all 3 tosses end up in tails, and then one of the tosses ends up in heads, whether it's the last one in the middle or the first one. Now, we could also have 2 heads, right? So how could that happen? Well, heads on the first toss, heads on the second, tails on the third, heads, tails, heads, and then tails, heads, heads. That's those 2 heads. And one more possibility that we have not described yet is when all 3 tosses end up in heads. So for the sample space of 3 tosses, we're going to have 8 possibilities. So the sample space is consists of 8 possible values. Okay, next example, list all outcomes when rolling a die. By the way, it could be worded in different ways. So one of the ways is list all possible outcomes. Another possibility is to describe the sample space. It means the same thing. Basically, describe all the possibilities. So it says, note a sample space is usually denoted using the set notation, and the possible ordered outcomes are listed as elements in the set. So sample space set is usually denoted by S, and we're going to open figure brackets and list all the possibilities. Well, all of the possibilities are described visually for you here, but let's describe it numerically. So we can get a 1, A2, A3, A4, a 5, or a 6. And that's it. We're closing all brackets. Now, so we're done with this example. But continuing the topic of the set notation, I just wanted to mention that there is a possibility of getting an empty set, and it doesn't actually pertain to this example. It's a different topic. I just wanted to point it out. So empty set is denoted either by a square bracket with a 0 crossed out like this, or just brackets with nothing in it. So all of these describe an empty set. So here's another example. In this example, we are rolling 2 dice, one red, one green. And how do we describe a sample space for rolling 2 dice? Well, this table represents all 36 outcomes. So we could have a 1 on the red die and a 1 on the green, a 2 on the red and a 1 on the green, or 2 on the red and 2 on the green, and so forth. And this table, like I already said, describes all outcomes, which is a total of 36. Now, not all outcomes could be described by just listing possibilities or even drawing possibilities, like in this diagram. So for example, if we roll 3 dice, it will be very difficult to present it in an organized way, but we could always calculate the number of possibilities. All right, another thing that we're going to be working with is deck of cards. And just for those of you who are not familiar with cards, then cards have a deck of cards has 52 cards. It has 4 suits. It has spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs, depending on the picture that you get. 2 of them are red suits, diamonds and hearts are red, and spades and clubs are black. So 52 cards total, 13 in each suit. And we also have, in each suit, we have 1, 2, 3 face cards. So 3 in each suit, 6 black ones and 6 red ones. Keep that in mind for future reference. So for an American roulette, we have 38 possible outcomes. We have numbers 1 through 36. We have 0 and 00. And for the we also have 18 red spots. We also have 18 black spots that appear random, and also we have 2 green ones. So these are the outcomes for the American roulette.